The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched for miles in every direction. Thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds filled the massive space. Their voices mixed together in a noise that sounded like the ocean during a storm. Today was different from other days. Today they would decide if humans could join their ancient group. Elder Vorthak stood slowly from his seat. His old bones creaked as he moved. He was one of the oldest beings in the galaxy. His people had been keeping records since before most stars were born. When he spoke, his voice was deep and careful. "Council members," he began. "Before we vote on the human request, I must speak of old warnings." Many beings in the hall made sounds of annoyance. Councillor Drevik, who led the defense committee, rolled his 6 eyes. "Not more ancient stories, Elder. We have real work to do." But Vorthak continued. He opened a book that looked older than time itself. "Long ago our people wrote of a danger, a species from the third rock of a yellow star. They called them the Endless Ones. The warnings say they grow without limit. They change without stopping. They win without mercy." Laughter filled the hall. Many beings thought this was funny. Councillor Drevik stood up. His purple skin gleamed under the lights. "Elder, you speak of children's tales. These humans barely learned to fly between stars last year. They have no real weapons, no strong ships. They are nothing." At that moment, the great doors opened. Ambassador Jin Ho walked in with his small team. He was young for a human, maybe 30 years old. He wore simple clothes compared to the fancy robes of other species. Behind him walked Dr. Somin, a quiet woman who carried a small bag of samples. Jin Ho bowed politely to the council. "Thank you for letting us speak today. Earth asks to join your great alliance. We offer friendship and our desire to learn." Drevik laughed loudly. "What can you offer us? Your people just learned to leave their home world. You have been in space for less than 50 years. Most of our species have been traveling the stars for thousands of years." Jin Ho remained calm. "We offer what we have always offered. We adapt, we learn. We find new ways to solve old problems." Dr. Somin stepped forward. She was nervous but determined. "We have studied some of your public records. We noticed patterns in your biological data that might interest you." "Patterns?" asked Councillor Nex, a being who looked like a walking tree. "What patterns could a young species see that we have missed?" Somin opened her bag carefully. Inside were small containers with different colored liquids. "We found that many of your species share similar genetic weaknesses. Your immune systems are very specialized. They work well against known threats but struggle with new ones." The hall became quieter. This was not what they expected to hear. "Humans are different," Somin continued. "Our immune systems are flexible. They can learn and change quickly. Sometimes they even improve on what they learn." Elder Vorthak leaned forward. His ancient eyes focused on the human woman. "Show us." Somin took out a small device. She pricked her finger and put a drop of blood on a slide. Then she added something from one of her containers. The mixture began to glow softly. "This is a weak form of Red Death," she explained. "It killed millions on the world of Kepler-7 200 years ago. Watch what happens." The blood sample began to change. Instead of being destroyed by the disease, it seemed to eat it. In minutes, the Red Death was completely gone. But more than that, the blood now glowed brighter. "Your blood improved," whispered Councillor Nex. "Our immune system did not just fight the disease," Somin said. "It studied it, learned from it, made itself better." The hall was completely silent now. Even Drevik had stopped laughing. Jin Ho spoke into the silence. "We do not ask for much. Give us the lowest membership level. Let us prove ourselves. We will stay in our home system until you decide we are ready for more." Drevik found his voice again. "This is some kind of trick. No species can do what you just showed us." Elder Vorthak's books might disagree, Jin Ho said quietly. All eyes turned to the old being. Vorthak was reading from his ancient book, his hands shaking slightly. "The Endless Ones," he read aloud. "They will come from a world of water and stone. They will carry death in their blood, but death will serve them. They will grow strong from every challenge. They will never stop growing stronger." "Fairy tales," Drevik said, but his voice was not as sure as before. The vote was called. Most species voted to give humans the lowest level of membership. They could stay in their home system and trade with nearby worlds. Nothing more. As the council meeting ended, Jin Ho thanked everyone politely. But Dr. Somin noticed something strange. Several species had asked for samples of human blood. They claimed it was for research purposes. That night in her small ship, Somin worked alone. She had not told Jinho everything about her research. The human immune system was more than just flexible. It was almost like it was designed to fight unknown threats. Every new disease made it stronger. Every poison made it more resistant. She looked at her latest test results and felt a chill. Human blood could now fight 30 different alien diseases. A month ago, it could only fight 5. They were getting stronger just from being near other species. A message arrived on her computer. It was marked urgent and came from the outer edge of the galaxy. She read it quickly, then read it again more slowly. Unknown plague discovered on mining world Beta 7. All life consumed in 72 hours. Spreading to nearby systems. Standard treatments have no effect. Disease appears to be learning and adapting. Request immediate assistance from all council members. Sumin stared at the message for a long time. Then she began preparing her equipment. She had a feeling that humanity's real test was about to begin. In his private chambers, Elder Vorthak closed his ancient book. He had not read the council the complete warning. The old text said more about the Endless Ones, much more. They said the species would face their greatest test when they met, the hungry dark. They said the Endless Ones would either save the galaxy or consume it. He looked out at the stars and wondered which it would be. Far away on Earth. President Nari read the same plague report that Somin had received. She smiled coldly and made a call to her military advisors. Begin Phase 2, she said simply. It's time to show them what humans can really do. 2 years had passed since the plague crisis. The galaxy remembered humanity as the species that saved everyone. Humans were welcome on most worlds now. They had built trading posts and research stations across dozens of systems. Everything seemed peaceful. Then the scanners detected something impossible at the edge of the galaxy. The first reports came from the automated warning systems. Ships were disappearing near the galactic rim. Not destroyed. Just gone, no wreckage. No distress signals. They were there one moment and absent the next. General Seung-ho studied the reports in his office on Mars. He was Earth's top military leader, though most aliens thought humans had no real military. That was exactly what he wanted them to think. Admiral Mi-young, he said to the woman across from his desk, "How many ships have we lost?" Mi-young checked her tablet. "None. We pulled all our vessels back as soon as the disappearances started. But the Council has lost 47 ships in the past month." The door opened and Commander Tae-woo entered. He had been working with the Council's military forces for 2 years, learning everything he could about their weapons and tactics. "General," Tae-woo reported, "the Council is calling it the Hive Collective. Initial contact happened 3 days ago. The enemy sent a single message before attacking. He played a recording. A cold mechanical voice spoke. We are the Hive, we improve, we absorb. You will become useful or become nothing." Seung-ho listened to the message twice. What happened after they sent this? The Council sent their strongest battle fleet to make first contact. The enemy destroyed all 200 ships in less than an hour. The few survivors said the enemy learned their tactics during the battle and adapted faster than they could respond. Admiral Mi-young leaned forward. "Sir, if these Hive can learn and adapt that quickly, the Council's normal military approach will not work. They will need new tactics." "Good thing we have been preparing new tactics," Seung-ho said with a cold smile. For the past 2 years, while the galaxy saw humans as peaceful helpers, Earth's military had been very busy. They had studied every Council species' fighting methods. They had learned the strengths and weaknesses of every known weapon system. And they had developed something the galaxy had never seen before. The call came 3 days later. High Counselor Zephyros looked desperate when his image appeared on the communication screen. "General Seung-ho, we need humanity's help again. This enemy is beyond anything we have faced. What exactly are we dealing with?" Seung-ho asked. Counselor Zandal, the military advisor, answered. "They are machines, but not like any we know. They learn from every encounter. They adapt their technology in real time. Every weapon we use against them becomes useless after the first few shots." Seung-ho pretended to think about this. "Have you tried changing tactics during battle?" "Of course," Zandal said. "But they adapt faster than we can change. By the time we switch to a new approach, they have already countered it." "I see the problem," Seung-ho said. "You are fighting predictably. The enemy learns your patterns and beats them. You need to fight without patterns." "That is impossible," Zandal replied. "Military tactics require organization and planning. You cannot have an army that fights randomly. Sung Ho exchanged a look with Admiral Mi Young. Actually, you can. We call it Chaos Doctrine. 1 week later, a combined human and council fleet gathered at the edge of hive space. The council ships were organized in perfect formations. The human ships seemed to be scattered randomly around them. Admiral Mi Young commanded the human forces from her flagship. Her ships were smaller than the council vessels, but they carried weapons the hive had never seen before. The enemy arrived exactly on schedule. Thousands of dark, angular ships emerged from the void. They moved in perfect coordination, like parts of a single enormous machine. All human ships, Mi Young broadcast. Begin Chaos Protocol. Remember, if the enemy can predict what you are doing it wrong. The battle began unlike anything in galactic history. The council ships fought in traditional formations, following established tactics. The hive quickly adapted and began destroying them systematically, but the human ships fought differently. One ship would charge straight at the enemy, firing all weapons. Another would retreat while laying mines. A third would shut down all systems and drift silently until an enemy ship came close, then explode in a kamikaze attack. Every human ship fought like it was completely separate from the others. No formations, no coordinated attacks, no predictable patterns, just chaos. The hive tried to adapt, but how do you adapt to complete randomness? Every time they developed a counter for one human tactic, the humans were already doing something completely different. Commander Jin Su flew his small fighter in loops around a massive hive battleship, firing randomly at different sections. When the battleship tried to target him, he would suddenly fly directly at it, forcing its weapons to shut down to avoid self-damage. Captain Haiwan commanded a destroyer that kept changing its weapon types every few seconds. Energy beams, physical missiles, biological weapons, even psychological warfare broadcasts. The hive could not predict what was coming next because even she did not know until she fired. The tide of battle began to turn. The hive ships, designed to learn and adapt, became confused by the complete lack of patterns to learn from. They began making mistakes, firing at empty space where they expected human ships to be. "Admiral," reported Commander Wu Jin from his stealth ship. "The enemy is retreating from sectors 7 through 12. They seem to be regrouping," Mi Young smiled. "Good, let them regroup. The more they try to organize a response to chaos, the more confused they will become." The final phase of the battle was the most impressive. As the hive tried to retreat in an organized formation, the human ships did something unprecedented. They began coordinating their chaos. Every human ship still fought unpredictably, but now their unpredictability worked together. It was like watching 1,000 different songs being played at the same time, but somehow creating a beautiful harmony. The hive collective, faced with organized chaos, simply could not cope. Their central intelligence overloaded trying to process too many random inputs. Their ships began shutting down one by one. When the battle ended, the human fleet had suffered minimal losses. The mighty hive collective had been completely defeated. High Counselor Zephyros called Admiral Mi Young personally. "Admiral, that was the most extraordinary military display I have ever witnessed. How did you develop such tactics?" Mi Young kept her expression modest. "Humans have always been good at adapting. We just applied that to warfare." But Counselor Zandal was not satisfied with that answer. He had been studying the battle recordings. "Admiral, your ships fought with perfect chaos yet somehow coordinated their efforts. That should be impossible." "Perhaps," Mi Young replied. "But humans specialize in impossible things." After the communication ended, Mi Young sent a coded message to General Seung Ho on Mars. Phase 3 complete. Enemy defeated using minimal force. Council impressed but not suspicious. Recommend beginning Phase 4. On Earth, President Nari read the battle reports with satisfaction. The galaxy now saw humans as military geniuses who had saved them twice. They were grateful and trusting. They had no idea that the Chaos Doctrine was just the simplest of humanity's military innovations. They had no idea that the human fleet had been holding back, using less than 10% of their actual capabilities, and they definitely had no idea that humanity had not just defeated the Hive Collective. They had captured several Hive ships and were already learning to control Hive technology. In her private office, Dr. So Min studied the latest intelligence reports. The Hive Collective had not been a natural development either. Like the plague before them, they had been created by someone else, someone who kept testing the galaxy's defenses. She pulled up her star charts and began calculating trajectories. If her theory was correct, the real enemy was still coming. And they would be much more dangerous than anything the galaxy had faced so far. But now humanity was ready for them. In fact, humanity was looking forward to meeting them. After all, humans loved a good challenge. Dr. Hyunsu had been digging in the ruins of Kepler Prime for 3 months. The dead world held secrets that most archaeologists only dreamed of finding. Ancient cities buried under miles of sand and stone. Technology that had been forgotten before most current species had learned to use fire. But what he found in the deepest ruins changed everything humanity thought they knew about themselves. The chamber was enormous, carved from solid rock by tools that left perfectly smooth surfaces. Strange symbols covered every wall. In the center stood a device that still hummed with power after millions of years. Hyunsu activated his recording equipment and began documenting everything. The symbols were unlike any known language, but they seemed familiar somehow. Like a song he had heard long ago but could not quite remember. His communication device beeped. "Dr. Hyunsu," came the voice of his research partner. "You need to see this immediately." He made his way through the tunnels to the main excavation site. Dr. Lee Minna was standing beside a massive stone tablet, her face pale with shock. "What did you find?" Hyunsu asked. Minna pointed at the tablet. "I managed to translate part of it. Hyunsu, this tablet is about humans. That is impossible. This site is millions of years old. Humans have only been in space for 50 years. That is what I thought too." Minna activated her translation device. The ancient symbols began glowing and a voice filled the chamber. It was speaking perfect Korean. "The makers created their final work on the third world of the Yellow Star," the voice said. "They shaped the Endless Ones to survive any threat, adapt to any challenge, overcome any enemy. But the creation grew beyond their control." Hyunsu felt cold despite the warm air in the chamber. "Keep playing it." The Endless Ones turned their gifts against their creators. They learned too quickly, adapted too perfectly. The makers realized their error and tried to destroy their creation. But you cannot destroy perfection. The recording continued. In desperation, the makers imprisoned the Endless Ones on their birth world. They surrounded the system with barriers that prevented space travel. They hoped isolation would weaken their creation. Minna looked at Hyunsu with wide eyes. "The makers. They are talking about humanity's creators. We are not from Earth originally. We were put there. But the barriers failed," the voice continued. "The Endless Ones learned to break them. They returned to the galaxy seeking their creators, but the makers had prepared for this. They created the hunger to test their creation. They created the hive to judge their creation. If the Endless Ones could pass these tests, perhaps they were ready for the truth." The recording ended, leaving the two archaeologists in stunned silence. Hyunsu's communication device rang. It was an urgent call from Earth. President Nari's face appeared on the screen. "Dr. Hyunsu, we need you back on Earth immediately. Bring everything you have found." "President Nari, we have made discoveries that change everything we know about human history. We need more time to study." Dr. Nari interrupted. "We already know what you found. Come home now." The trip back to Earth took 2 days. During the journey, Hyunsu studied the recordings from the ruins. The more he learned, the more disturbed he became. According to the ancient records, humans were not a natural species. They had been designed as weapons. On Earth, he was taken directly to a secret facility beneath the Antarctic ice. President Nari was waiting for him, along with General Seung-ho and several people he did not recognize. "Dr. Hyunsu," Nari said, "welcome to Project Deep Memory. What I am about to show you is known by fewer than 100 humans." She led him through corridors filled with advanced technology. In the deepest chamber, they found Elder Vorthak waiting for them. The ancient being looked even older than usual. "You," Hyunsu said, "what are you doing here?" Vorthak's voice was tired. "I am here because it is time for the truth. My people were not the first keepers of records. We inherited our knowledge from the silence." "The silence?" Nari answered. "The species that created humanity. The ones your ancient tablet calls the makers. Elder Vorthak is the last surviving member of the silence." Hyunsu's mind reeled. "That is impossible. Elder Vorthak has been with the council for decades. He warned about humans during our membership hearing." "I warned because I remembered," Vorthak said slowly. "My people created yours to be the ultimate adaptive species. We gave you the ability to overcome any challenge, survive any threat, learn from any enemy. But something went wrong, Nari continued. Humanity became too good at what they were designed to do. They began improving themselves without permission. They started questioning their creators. Vorthak nodded sadly. We tried to control you. When that failed, we tried to destroy you. But we had made you too well. You survived our attacks and learned from them. So you imprisoned us on Earth, Yunsu said. For millions of years, Vorthak confirmed. We hoped isolation would make you forget your true nature. We hoped you would become peaceful and harmless. General Sung-ho laughed coldly. Instead, we used the time to become even stronger. Every challenge Earth threw at us made us better. Every threat we faced taught us new skills. Nari activated a holographic display. It showed a timeline of human development. We have known this truth for generations. Every major human leader has been briefed on our real history. We have been preparing for this moment since we first learned to make fire. Preparing for what moment? Hyunsu asked. The moment we reclaimed our birthright, Nari said. The moment we showed the galaxy what the silence created. Vorthak looked up at the humans surrounding him. You passed our tests. The hunger and the hive were meant to judge if you had grown beyond your original programming. You not only defeated them, you improved them. You turned weapons of destruction into tools of creation. We did more than that, Sung-ho said. We learned to control them. The Hive Collective now serves human interests. The plague organism is being used to improve agriculture across dozens of worlds. Which means, Nari said, it is time for the final phase of our plan. She activated another display. This one showed the current galactic political situation. Human influence was spreading rapidly. Dozens of species had requested human protection. Trade agreements favored human interest. Military alliances gave humans access to advanced technology from hundreds of worlds. The galaxy trusts us, Nari explained. They see us as their saviors. They have no idea that everything that has happened was part of our plan to reclaim our position. Vorthak's ancient eyes were filled with something that might have been fear or pride. You have become everything we designed you to be and more. The question now is, what will you do with that power? Nari smiled, but there was no warmth in it. We will do what we were created to do. We will adapt. We will overcome. We will survive. And we will rule, Sung-ho added quietly. Hyunsu looked around the room at the faces of humanity's leaders. What about the other species? What happens to them? They will be protected, Nari said. Under human guidance, the galaxy will become safer and more prosperous than ever before. But they will never again be in control of their own destiny. Some will resist, Vorthak warned. Let them, Nari replied. Resistance is just another challenge for us to overcome. Outside the facility, normal human life continued. People went to work, raised families, and dreamed of the future. They had no idea that their leaders were planning to become the rulers of the entire galaxy. In space, human ships began moving toward key strategic positions. The galaxy's protectors were quietly becoming its new masters. And in the deepest archives of human civilization, scholars began rewriting history books. Soon, every human child would learn the truth about their species. They would know they were the inheritors of the galaxy. The silence had created them to be unstoppable. Now it was time to prove their creators had succeeded. 5 years had passed since the truth was revealed. The galaxy was no longer the same place it had been when humans first asked to join the Galactic Council. Now, Emperor Jinwu sat in what used to be the council chambers, but the building served a different purpose now. The transformation had been gradual and mostly peaceful. Species across the galaxy had voluntarily joined the human collective. They traded their independence for protection, prosperity, and the promise of a better future. Most were happy with the arrangement. Fleet Admiral Yunji stood before a massive display showing the current galactic situation. Green areas represented systems under human control. There was a lot of green. Red areas showed the few remaining free worlds that still resisted human influence. Emperor, she reported, we now control 67% of inhabited systems. Another 12% have requested membership in the collective. The remaining free worlds are mostly in the outer rim. Jinwu studied the display calmly. He was younger than most galactic leaders, only 42 years old, but he had been preparing for this role his entire life. What is the status of the resistance movement? He asked. Councillor Drevik is attempting to organize the remaining free species, Yunji replied. He has established a base on Nexus Station and is calling for a final stand against human expansion. Jinwoo almost smiled. Drivik was the same arrogant leader who had laughed at humanity during their first council meeting. Now he was desperately trying to rally support against the species he had once dismissed as harmless. How many ships does he have? Approximately 3,000 vessels from 47 different species. It is the largest anti-human force ever assembled. And how many ships do we have? In the immediate area? About 200. But sir, our ships are significantly more advanced now that we have incorporated hive technology. The door opened, and Ambassador Subin entered. She had replaced Jin Ho when he retired to become a Minister of Agriculture. Her job was to handle diplomatic relations with the remaining free worlds. Emperor, she said with a slight bow, Councillor Drevik has requested a meeting. He wishes to negotiate terms for the continued independence of his alliance. Jinwoo considered this. What does he offer? Complete non-interference in human affairs. The free worlds will isolate themselves in the outer rim and have no contact with collective systems. And what does he want in return? For humanity to promise we will never expand beyond our current borders. Yoonji made a sound of disbelief. He wants us to limit ourselves? After everything we have accomplished? Jinwoo raised a hand for silence. Arrange the meeting, Ambassador. I will speak with Councillor Drevik personally. The meeting took place on a neutral space station near the border between human and free space. Drevik arrived with a large escort, trying to show strength. Jinwoo came alone except for Subin. Drevik looked older and more tired than Jinwoo remembered. The stress of organizing resistance had clearly affected him. Emperor Jinwoo, Drevik said formally. I thank you for agreeing to this meeting. Councillor Drevik, you wanted to discuss terms? Yes. My alliance represents the last free peoples of the galaxy. We seek only to maintain our independence in a small section of space. In return, we offer complete non-interference in your affairs. Jinwoo listened politely. When Drevik finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Counselor, Jinwoo finally said, I appreciate your position, but you are operating under a fundamental misunderstanding. What misunderstanding? You think this is a negotiation between equals. You think you have something to offer that we want. You think you have a choice in what happens next. Drivik's face darkened. Are you threatening us? I am explaining reality, Jinwoo replied calmly. You have seen what happens when the galaxy faces a real threat. The plague nearly destroyed all life. The hive would have consumed every civilization. In both cases, humanity provided the solution. And now you think that gives you the right to rule us all? Jinwoo stood and walked to the station's large viewing window. Stars filled the view, representing billions of worlds and trillions of lives. Counselor, let me ask you a question. When your people were dying from the plague, did you care about human rights to independence? When the hive was destroying your fleets, did you worry about human sovereignty? That was different. Those were emergencies. Every day is an emergency somewhere in the galaxy. Right now, 3 systems are dealing with solar instability. 2 regions are facing economic collapse. 5 species are on the edge of civil war. Without human guidance, the galaxy falls into chaos. Subin stepped forward. The Emperor is offering your people the same gift we have given everyone else. Join the collective willingly and prosper under human protection. Your people will be safer, healthier, and happier than they have ever been. Under human control, Drevik said bitterly. Under human guidance, Jinwoo corrected. We do not seek to destroy other cultures. We seek to improve them. And if we refuse? Jinwoo turned back to face him. Then you will be isolated behind a barrier that we will construct around your territory. You will have the independence you claim to want, but you will also be cut off from all trade, all communication, all contact with the rest of the galaxy. Drevik was silent for a long time. Finally, he asked, For how long? Until you change your minds, Subin answered. The barrier will remain until every world in your alliance chooses to join the collective voluntarily. That is still coercion. Jinwoo smiled slightly. Counselor, we could simply take your worlds by force. Our military is more than capable of defeating your alliance, but we prefer that people choose to join us. It makes integration much easier. The meeting ended without an agreement. Drevik returned to his alliance to report on the human offer. Jinwoo returned to Earth to prepare for the next phase of expansion. 3 weeks later, the barrier went up. Human ships surrounded the free world's territory and deployed advanced technology that created an impenetrable wall. Nothing could enter or leave without human permission. The isolation was total. No trade ships, no communication signals, no visitors. The free worlds were completely cut off from the rest of the galaxy. Within 6 months, the first world requested permission to leave the Alliance and join the Collective. Then another. Then several more. Drevik tried to hold his alliance together, but it was hopeless. His people could see what was happening in the rest of the galaxy through long-range sensors. Human-protected worlds were thriving. New technologies were improving life for billions. The galaxy was becoming a better place under human leadership. Meanwhile, the free worlds were stagnating. Their economies were failing. Their technologies were becoming outdated. Their people were growing restless. 1 year after the barrier went up, Drevik himself requested a meeting with Emperor Jinwu. This time he came alone. "I surrender," he said simply. "My alliance is dissolving. My people are tired of isolation. I formally request membership in the human collective." Jinwu accepted graciously. "Welcome, counselor. You will find that serving humanity is far more rewarding than opposing us." But even as the last resistance crumbled, Jinwu was thinking about larger challenges. His advisors had detected something moving in the void between galaxies. Long-range sensors suggested a massive fleet of unknown ships approaching from outside the galactic rim. Elder Vorthak, now serving as Jinwu's advisor on ancient threats, had identified them from old silence records. They were the Devourers, entities that consumed entire galaxies for fuel. "They are what we created you to fight," Vorthak had explained. "The ultimate test of your species. The reason the silence made you into the perfect adaptive weapon." Jinwu was not worried. The galaxy was united under human leadership now. Every species contributed their knowledge and resources to the collective defense. And humans had proven they could overcome any challenge. Fleet Admiral Yunji was already preparing humanity's response. The Devourers would find a galaxy protected by the most dangerous species ever created. They would find a civilization that had turned every threat into an opportunity for growth. As Jinwu looked out at the stars from his office on Earth, he felt a deep satisfaction. The elders had spoken truth all those years ago. Humans were unstoppable. The Council had mocked those warnings. Now the Council served human interests. The galaxy had feared human expansion. Now the galaxy was safer than it had ever been. And when the Devourers arrived, they would discover what the silence had created all those millions of years ago. They would face a species that grew stronger from every challenge, learned from every defeat, and never, ever gave up. The age of human dominance had begun, and it would last until the stars themselves burned out. After all, humans were designed to be eternal.